Every week, pastors step up to preach to a room full of people. Some who followed Jesus for years, and others who are still figuring out what they believe. And in those moments, the challenge isn't just to speak, it's to connect. This week, we're talking about what it really means to preach in a way that reaches everyone in the room, the curious, the skeptical, and the seasoned believer alike. How do we move beyond entertainment and into transformation? How do we speak to hearts that are at completely different places and still point everyone toward the same Jesus? Here on the Pastor's Potluck Podcast, our goal is to encourage you and maybe in the process, entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. Today we are joined by special guest, Tiny Plant.
I thought you were going to say Tiny Person.
Yeah.
And Pastor Cheryl.
And her witch's brew.
And her witch's brew. Yes.
All right. Didn't know I was going to get picked on today.
You're not getting picked on.
No, is
Just
that?
my items in front of me.
But you didn't bring that plant.
I know
though.
I didn't.
That's
I
Jared's.
didn't.
No, that's my fake tiny plant.
Yeah. Remember the one that you used to have in here, and I asked you that one time if it was real.
Yeah.
Because I always like the old one had those little rocks around it. I love to try to pick them off.
Yeah, but they're all glued together.
They were all glued down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all right.
And
I have real
Scotch
plants in
chapstick.
my office.
Yes, we are brought to you today by. I can't say it. We're not actually sponsored.
Yeah.
I'll
You can make a recommendation for chapstick.
Well, this wasn't. I'll just be honest. This isn't the one I would recommend.
Oh, okay.
I'm a regular. You know the chapstick brand.
Yeah.
That's what I want.
Yeah.
I like those.
And
I like
just the regular? Like,
No.
or
That
Okay.
the black one. No.
Okay.
Like
I was going to
is
say.
it cherry? Is the red one cherry or strawberry?
I think it's cherry.
I don't know.
The cherry one. That's where I'm at.
Is that the strawberry one?
This
that
is
you've
just
been
regular.
working on?
This is just regular Carmex.
Uh-huh.
I was in a pinch and picked it up. It's actually really cheap.
Yeah.
Carmex is cheaper than chapstick brand, which I thought was weird because I thought chapstick brand was the cheapest. But
No.
this is riveting stuff for whoever's listening on this Friday afternoon.
Dude, we're
Here for the hard hitting topics.
Yeah, I'll let everybody know. We're in a rare mood today. We're all having a really good day. Somebody brought us lunch for Pastor Appreciation, so we're all nice and full.
It's my second Qdoba of the week.
Yeah, and it was an amazing
You
lunch.
say it Qdoba, not
Qdoba.
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 I don't know how do I say it.
I don't know.
I think I say Qdoba.
It's a question for the listeners, I guess.
Are you supposed to say Q?
I've always said Q because it just sounds weird.
I like Qdoba because it sounds like one word.
Anyways,
Yeah.
no,
On to the
but
next hard hitting topic.
yeah, next hard. Do you have lint in your pocket? No, but yeah, we're all feeling pretty good, pretty full, and we've just been cutting up before we hit the record button, and we were talking about everything. But to get us back on track, we are continuing our discussion on preaching and asking all the questions that has anything to do with preaching, to preparation, to questions that deal with like in the heat of the moment. Mm-hmm. And the first question I wanted to ask is, if a person doesn't understand everything from a sermon, how can they still grow from it?
Is that to me first?
I would imagine.
Yeah.
Cheryl.
Well, I'm trying to make sure I frame this right because I don't guess I fully understand the question, but we are very intentional in the way that we teach at Southridge to give you something on a deep level, but on something that you can manage. Mm-hmm. And so I would say if you're not walking away with at least the main idea of our sermon, then I would say that it's the communicator's fault and not the fault of the person listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's our like for the most part. Now, granted, everybody, if you're listening and you're a regular listener of Southridge Church's sermons, you could probably think to a sermon and go, oh, well, he didn't follow the rule this time. But we have a way that we prefer to teach 90 to 95% of the time. There are times that we're going to step out of it for whatever reason.
Yeah.
But our goal is always for you to walk away with one single thing. If you didn't do that, then that's our fault. Now, you may not understand every single aspect of a sermon. That's fine. I actually am okay with that.
Yeah.
My goal is to make sure that you walk away with the one thing.
Yeah.
Right. So this past weekend, I'm trying to think, what did we talk about this past?
God has a plan for you, but the enemy does too.
And that the enemy does too. If all you got this past weekend was that God has a plan for you and so does the enemy, you got exactly.
Yeah.
Like if you don't remember, all right, the enemy accuses and then or affirms and accuses. If you don't remember or understand all of that, if you can walk away going, God has a plan for me, the enemy does too. That's something that is a statement that sticks with you, and you got what I wanted you to get out of it. Now, will it be more effective if you got all the finer pieces of that one thing? Yes. But again, if you don't walk away with the one big thing, then the communicator did not do their job.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you're just not paying attention, then I guess it is your fault.
Yeah, and we also, like, one of the things that we do is throughout the week there are other opportunities to where we do have a deeper, in-depth conversation to maybe cover like the supporting points of these things, to where we can bring more clarity to those as well, and maybe some sermon clips that highlight some of these things. And I think that as a listener or someone who is sitting and not presenting the gospel or preaching the word, but just taking it in, there is this challenge to, hey, maybe I should go back and re-listen to these things. And because it reiterates that same point that you've made in a couple of sermons. It's like, hey, if we get the word of God in us, then we are better prepared for the things that are going to be coming at us in the future. Yes. These are the foundation. This is the roots of everything that we need to know. And a great way to do that is to be able to, I think every church in America is either recording and posting their stuff like throughout the week at a later time. Some of us are doing like more conversation on it. But it's always easy to go back and be able to listen to the Sunday sermons because we understand, look, I have ADHD. And while I'm in the service, I get distracted by the kids and the things, and I'm looking at the lights. Okay, well, we're missing this cue because that's just part of my job. How do I teach the guys and gals to do things with excellence? So I do have to make it a point to go back and listen to those things. Yeah.
I do think, like, for the communicator, yes, it's our job to do, to be obedient. I think it goes back to some of your all's previous conversations about obedience and doing the stuff on the front end to make sure we are clear, concise, and those things. But also, I think as a Christ follower, some of what Pastor Scott shared on Sunday and in our extra point was, it is our job as a Christ follower to kind of come with some curiosity and open mind. Like if we're coming to sit under a teaching, but we don't really, if I'm coming in with a hard heart and I don't really care what they have to say, I'm just there because of obligation, then you're not going to get anything from it. Like the Holy Spirit is the one that's in charge of making those mysteries clear and understandable to the person, like revealing to each individual what it is that God has for them from that sermon, because there are things that hit people differently or in different areas, or they can hear, two people can hear a sermon, the exact same sermon, and they get something completely different from it, because that's a work of the Holy Spirit more than anything. But it does, I think, as a Christ follower, because we have a lot of people that listen to this that do not, they're not sitting in our seats who are the communicators. They're the ones being communicated to, that they're listening to us. And I think it is our job to kind of come in with that openness, that curiosity. And if we're not, then you won't see as much growth or understanding as what you would.
Yeah. Just a sense of anticipation of what's to come. And I think that if I can just kind of like, I don't know, I know that we've been talking a lot about preaching, and this may be something that we just cover in depth, like in a next episode. because we talk so much about the preaching side of it, and maybe we should go deeper into like the receiving. Like what are some ways that we could set up ourselves up for success whenever we are going to just listen to a sermon. But it's one of those things to where if you should be in prayer for a Sunday service, even if you're not a part of it. Hey God, prepare my heart to receive everything that I need to receive that's going to be taught on Sunday, so I can better follow you, or maybe strengthen a spiritual discipline, or whatever the case may be, or whatever the Holy Spirit puts on your heart. I think that we can also do things as listeners to set ourselves up for success. If you know you're going to be distracted by your phone, turn off your phone completely, get pen and paper and write some notes.
Yeah. I know someone at our church, they've actually moved themselves to the back of the room because they know that's where they hear the best.
Yeah.
That there's something about, like, when they were further up in the room, they were having trouble paying attention, but they have found sitting on the back row of the room up against the wall has helped them pay attention. So, like, I think you have to know that about yourself, but I am just a firm believer, like on the preaching side, that if someone doesn't understand the main point, I'm not saying every single point, because yes, there's all these ancillary things that we don't spend 30 minutes on. We say it in passing almost. You don't have to understand that stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't walk away with the main point, the communicator didn't do their job.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, for the most part, that's what it is. If you can't walk away going, this is exactly what the sermon was about. And here's the issue. This is why I'm such a big stickler for this sort of thing, is this is not the case in most preaching.
Yeah.
This is why there's a lot of people, like, if I go visit a church, there's a good chance I'm going to have a really hard time listening to the preaching, because most people jump all over the place all the time, and they're trying to give you 4, 5, 6, 7 different things to take home. And it's like, listen, bro, you can't get someone in 30 minutes to remember your 7 points. You just can't do it. You can't give me 7 different things with 7 different scriptures and treat them at the level that you need them to, which is why 1-point preaching, I believe, is the most effective way of preaching. That way people can walk away every single week with one thing to take to the coffee pot Monday morning, and people, oh, you went to church this weekend, what was it about?
Yeah.
We give you a 1-word snippet, 1-sentence snippet. It's, God has a plan for my life, and so does the enemy, so I got to be watching out for the enemy.
Yeah, just an analogy kind of popped in my head. If you've got like 7, 8 different points and you're trying to cram that into 30 minutes, try meeting 7 or 8 different people in 30 minutes and remember their names and remember what they do for a job and remember how many kids they have. But if you met one person for 30 minutes, the retention of their name, what they do for a job, how many kids they have will last a lot better, because you're just focused on that one person and not seven different people.
Yeah.
Well, think about this.
That's probably the best analogy I've ever had in my life.
Think
and
about
I'm
this
very proud of that.
Most preachers are going to get up there with notes on a 3 to 5 point sermon that they've worked 20, 25 hours a week. Just think about the practicality of this. After 20 to 25 hours of work, you walk into the pulpit with your pages and pages and pages of notes because you don't even have what you're about to say memorized. And you are now going to preach those 3 to 5 points to people for 30 to 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But you needed notes to remember it. You think that they're going to listen to you talk and walk away with all of it.
Yeah.
They're going to take 25 hours of your work that you still don't have memorized, preacher, and they're going to walk away with it in 30 minutes?
Yeah.
It's not even practical, which is, again, this is why I'm not a proponent of preachers taking notes up into the pulpit. And then, of course, people go, well, I've seen you do it. Yes, again, certain circumstances would require that to happen, but by and large, you're not going to see me with pages and pages and pages of notes. I go up there with note cards that just have reminders in case I forget where I'm going.
Yeah.
Because if I can't remember what it was that I was going to say to you, how do I expect them to listen and remember what I was going to say? It's not even practical to think like that.
Yeah.
Which is why the issue with all of this is if people don't understand you when you speak as a communicator, you're not working hard enough. If you don't remember what it is that you're walking into the pulpit to say, and you can't do it without just maybe a couple bullet points, you didn't work hard enough throughout the week to internalize the message, to understand the message, to get up there and just let it rip.
Yeah.
So it's a communicator issue.
All righty. Pastor Cheryl, how do you prepare a message that connects with people who don't yet believe or follow Jesus and people who have been believers for years?
I think that is part of making sure that you have the gospel intertwined in every message. If you can't connect it to Jesus and what he's done for them, it's really...
Don't do it.
Right. Well, that's kind of our thing around here. You don't do it. Like everything should point to him because everything does in scripture we see. But also I think, there have been sermons that I know, like I remember Pastor Scott doing or us doing like, hey, some of this is good knowledge for you, even if you're a Christ follower or not. Like making point of those moments of like, hey, this is just good advice and genuine if you want to have a good life. I think connects with the non-believers, but also while pointing people to Christ at work and how God can work through and transform their lives. There should be that in every sermon, I believe. And I think, I think that one of those things to remember is that like for the most part, you're probably always going to have that type of audience. I think there will be rare occasions like when Pastor Scott goes and is training a room full of pastors. Yeah. That's a different scenario. But I think you have to make sure that you are always putting that in there. To me, I think because maybe it's my evangelism gifting and my spiritual gifts, or maybe it's because I spent years in kids ministry, which, so you always have that. I feel like that is something that it's always on my mind, in those regards. But I think that if you don't, I think you have to know your audience, and think about, which I feel like you guys have talked about a little bit in this, but I think you have to know who is sitting in that room and know where that you may have people in all different points of their journey. And there is something for everyone at any point within that.
Andy Stanley calls it in Communicating for a Change double barrel preaching, meaning that when you're preaching, you have to understand that there's two different audiences at all times that you're speaking to.
Yeah.
There's the believing audience and the unbelieving audience. And then I've kind of taken this idea and I formed a phrase that I use whenever I'm training communicators, that if you preach like unbelievers are not in the room, eventually you will only preach in rooms that they're not at. Like it just, when you're preaching, act as if everyone in the room is saved, unbelievers will not feel at home with your teaching. They won't feel like it's for them, so they won't be there. Right? So you'll do all this work all week long hoping that somebody gets saved without realizing that you cultivated an environment that makes unbelievers feel like outsiders. So therefore, they're not connecting with what you're saying, and so they're not going to get saved. So if you act like they're not there, and so the next logical question is like, well, how do I act like they're not there? If you say weird church stuff and don't explain it, you act like they're not there. If you assume biblical knowledge, then you act like they're not there. And honestly, assuming biblical knowledge is one of the biggest mistakes preachers make, because not only does it disconnect from unbelievers, it disconnects from a lot of believers. These people that come to churches, by and large, do not know the Bible on the level that you know the Bible as a preacher. So for you to assume any sort of when we're in this big long series on 1st and 2nd Samuel, it dates back literally 2 years now. When I say David, I don't just go David. I say he's the anointed king of Israel. Why? Because I don't assume that everyone in the room knows who David is. Do I know who David is? Yeah, I've been studying this for 2 years. Do you know who David is? Yeah, you've been here for But the moment that you just go, so we're going to look at another story of David today, and you're like, well, that's not everyone knows who you're talking about. And that's like a mild example. I've seen it even worse. Like when
You called him Dave, though, a couple times.
Yeah, I hit him with a Dave.
Well, it's usually
Once I've
later in
introduced,
the-
yeah. Once I've introduced who
I
he
have to.
is.
Come on.
Come
But
on,
like
Dave.
I've seen it even like where people will go like, one of them, it was one of the things I heard it from our stage one time, and I was like, this is a good teaching moment. I'm not upset with it. It's a good teaching moment. But someone was telling a personal story at one point, and they said that a lady in her life was like a Naomi to her, and I was just sitting there, I was going.
Who's Naomi?
Well, I know who Naomi is,
Yeah.
but like I'm going, do you think that the average churchgoer,
Like the little baby that goes to the nursery?
I'm like, whether Christian or not, knows your obscure reference to the book of Ruth? Like and so everyone in the room's going, she was a Naomi to you. Well, what the heck does that mean?
Yeah.
Right? So if you do stuff like that, just know that you're disconnecting not only just your unbelieving audience, but your believing audience as well.
Yeah.
And then if you say something like, hey, today we're going to preach on sanctification, and then you just move on,
You're
that
like,
the people that did not get raised around that word are going, huh? So I will say sanctification, but I'll go, and that's a big church word for what we believe God is doing in your life and transforming your life. So if you, again, if you, when you're walking through a text, if something crazy happens in the text and you just churchify it like, yeah, that's totally normal, right? That disconnects from an unbelieving audience. So when God sends poisonous snakes into the Israelite camp, if you don't address like, yeah, don't worry, I saw it too, that's weird, you're disconnecting yourself from your unbelieving audience.
Yeah.
Again, being able to do double barrel preaching to non-believers and believers at the same time, the reason why some people can't do it, this is literally where preaching rises and falls, is because you're not working hard enough. You're not working hard, especially nowadays. You know, ChatGPT, as whatever you want to say about AI and all this, I don't care. Don't let ChatGPT write your sermons for you. But if you are not using ChatGPT to improve your preaching, then you are missing out. Because you can actually take your sermon and plug it into ChatGPT when you're finished with it and ask it how this sounds to a non-believer. And it will literally come up with objections of what you have written to go, you're not thinking about this, you're not thinking about this, you're not thinking about this. I did that a couple of weeks ago for the first time. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I didn't realize I was assuming biblical knowledge here, that I was this. And then I put it back in again. I said, okay, now tell me how this sermon sounds to someone that's been in church their whole lives. And it shot back feedback for that too. So if you're not good at double barrel preaching, it's simply because you're not working hard enough.
Yeah. Because I was wanting to know like a follow-up to that of how do you make sure that you're not simplifying so much that you lose the intellectuals and people who have followed God for so long.
Yes.
Because I think early on, I wanted to explain everything because I was so used to teaching kids.
Yeah.
And I remember Pastor Michael actually saying like, hey, you're explaining some things that you don't need to explain. And I was like, oh, I'm doing it because I'm so used to kids as my audience. And it was a teaching moment for me. But how do you do that in such a way that you can hit, you know, make sure you're not losing those intellectuals?
Yeah, I make sure that in every sermon that there's something for that person that's been in church their whole life and something that's for the person that they've never been here before.
Yeah.
And so that way everybody, the goal is for everybody to get fed. But you can't feed steak to a baby.
Right.
And if you feed, baby food to a grown person, they're never satisfied. You have to be able to serve both simultaneously. So you'll see in my teaching, there's going to be stuff where I'm going to dive deep on something that it's clearly for the seasoned believer, a little nugget of like, and then there's also going to be a moment where I'm sitting here going, like this past weekend, like God made you for a purpose. And if you don't know that, I need you to make sure you don't leave without knowing God. Does the person that's been at church their whole life need that? They probably could use the reminder, but that's not new news to them, but to the new person it is. And so good preaching is going to go back and forth. between making sure I'm discipling the saints and making sure that I am inviting the unbeliever.
Yeah.
That's back and forth all day long. And now that you do have a tool like ChatGPT that can analyze your sermon, again, it is wrong and immoral to let ChatGPT write your sermon.
Yeah.
But there are uses for ChatGPT in every walk of life that if you're not using it, then you're not going to be as good as what you could be in any area
Or
of
as
life.
the people that are using it. I mean,
It's because I am finding ways. It's not interrupting the inspiration of the Holy Spirit. It's not. I'm not asking ChatGPT, hey, will you write a sermon for me? Or it's not about being lazy. It's about actually using this as a tool that's actually making me work harder.
Yeah.
And not letting me settle on, okay, it's good enough, type deal. So that's what it is. You have to make sure that there's something for both audiences, and you have to preach like there's unbelievers in the room, because if not, they will eventually not be there.
Yeah.
They will, if they are seekers, they will eventually go seek someone that will take care of their spiritual needs if you cannot preach in a way to talk to them and your congregation simultaneously. And when I say that, I don't say it to say that it's easy by any means. I'm telling you, to be a good preacher is absolute grueling work. I was just working with one of our interns the last couple of weeks. And I said, the biggest difference that you're going to get from where you're at now to where you want to be preaching is you have to work harder. I can listen to your sermon and know that you are not working hard. Like I can hear it. Whenever I'm watching someone preach, I can hear how hard they've worked throughout the week.
Yeah.
Because what will happen is if you didn't work hard, and we talk about this as a staff all the time, so this won't be shocking to the two of you.
Yeah.
If you're not working hard, what you will try to do is you will try to put stuff in to make yourself look impressive. And the more that you try to make yourself look impressive, the less helpful you'll actually be.
Yeah.
And the more that you focus on being helpful, the more impressive you will be.
Yeah.
But being helpful is actually what the hard work is.
Yeah.
It's not hard for me to go into the Bible and just spout off a bunch of facts if I'm trying to impress you.
Yeah.
What's hard work is taking what it is that we are learning and whittling it down to one thing that I can make sure that you walk away with.
Yep.
And making sure that it's helpful, even if it's not robust in the sense of like, because, all these people that are like, we want a deep preacher. What do you mean by that? What do you mean deep? Because, see, for me, I think if I can disciple a congregation to love their neighbor as themselves, that's deep.
Yeah.
And what most people mean is like, we want you to be deep so the way we don't understand what you're talking about, and we can be fascinated by the knowledge that you have, because it will never challenge us to change or do anything because we don't even understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
But we know that it's deep.
Yeah. They want to know somehow one which way or the other who John the Baptist barber was. And it's like,
Bro, if it's not going to help you become better on Monday morning, then it doesn't have any place in a sermon. And so those are some of the keys. But again, if you're a preacher listening to this, if you don't preach to both audiences, you'll eventually only have an audience of a bunch of Christians, and those Christians will not invite their non-believing friends because they will have no faith in the fact that you can convert them in your teaching because they haven't seen you do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Pastor Cheryl, do you ever feel the pressure to entertain people instead of spiritually challenge them?
Oh, that's probably more of a question for Pastor Scott. No, I think there is a place where there needs to be something like that. I think there are times that a little lighthearted something is important. I think for me, it's probably more so not saying the intrusive thoughts that come to mind at certain things, like, which I think I did say this once, which when we were talking about Dave, there was the one sermon where I said Dave in a cave. Like when he's hiding out in the cave, that's just what I want to say. I'm like, Dave in a cave. And I remember the one where he's hiding out in the woods, and I think of Frozen and the Lost in the Woods song. But I think that I am not a super funny person. Yeah. And so I probably lean less towards the humor side than some. So I don't know that that's something that I wrestle with. I maybe probably wrestle more with on the side of being too serious.
Yeah.
at times, maybe.
I think you've
don't
used
know.
it a couple of times just to
Yeah, to
inject a little bit of
yes.
humor because there's some
Yes.
very, very deep-seated tension that's in the room, and you're like,
And if
holy
you can
cow,
release
you
that
can cut
a little,
this with a knife.
yes.
Like, you've done a good job
Yes.
of kind of like help break that tension. You're like, look, like, yes,
Yeah.
this is something serious, but I need you to understand that, like, if you feel that, then that's God working and trying to push you towards this, and then you'll, like, because you don't want people to walk out of the room feeling guilty, and you want them
Condemned.
to
Yeah, you
feel
don't want-
empowered to make the change in
Right.
their life.
Yeah.
Yes.
But not feeling guilty. Oh man, I can't. It's like he was just talking to me. Yeah, that's the Holy Spirit doing that. But at the same time, it's not. You don't want to pressure people, and quote unquote, like there's a lot of preachers that do a good job of quote unquote scaring the hell out of people. That's they
Yeah,
preach
and that's-
they
yeah.
preach in that way, like hellfire and brimstone. Let's do this. No, that's not the right way to do that.
Right.
Let me give
Yeah.
you a couple thoughts.
Okay.
First and foremost, what Pastor Cheryl said is incredibly important. If you're not funny, don't try to be funny. There's
Yeah.
nothing worse than watching someone that's not funny try to be funny.
Yeah.
You don't have to be funny. You just have to be engaging,
Yeah.
right? So you don't have to be up there cracking jokes. Maybe you're a good storyteller. So maybe
Yeah.
instead of humor, you're good on the emotional side, and you can draw somebody in with a story about your kids, something
Yeah.
sweet happening like that. You don't you need to have emotion and elicit emotion, but it doesn't always have to be the same emotion. Again, if you're
Yeah.
not funny, it's going to come
Yeah.
off really, really bad.
Yeah. And I think that goes with knowing your
Yeah.
audience too.
Yes.
Because I will say, like, I went down to another local church, and it is a very different crowd from here. So I know when I go there, like, there are some things that I could say here and I know it would hit a certain way, but like there, I know
Yes.
I cannot do certain stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
gonna fall flat. Cause I think I remember the first time I tried and it fell really flat, and I was like, don't do that again ever
Yep.
in this environment. And I think it does lend to that, but I think just knowing those things about yourself and your audience will help with that. But
Knowing your audience is part of working hard.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I was telling one of our interns had a speaking engagement at another church, and she was, I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do for it and everything. And I said, listen, anytime you accept an opportunity to go speak somewhere else, before you say yes, ask who you're speaking to, what's the crowd like. So if I'm going to another church, I want to know, like, is it an older crowd? Is it a younger crowd? Is it a largely saved crowd? Do you have a lot of seekers? Like, do you have blue collar? Do you have a lot of white? Like, what do you
Yeah.
have? So the way I know how, because when I preach here, I feel no pressure to like entertain people whatsoever. But I also know I've done it here so many times. Like, I'm hearing probably 800 plus sermons at this church.
Yeah.
So like I'm not worried about entertaining them, but I also know what works here. Because I could take exactly what I do here and go somewhere else, and people are like, yeah, not as nearly as impressed with that joke or whatnot. So knowing your audience is actually part of working hard. Also knowing yourself, what she just said, like self-awareness. Like, just know if you're not let me tell it, like, you might still be funny, but your humor might not be in like a well-timed joke, but it may be in, again, being able to react to something that's happening in the moment, or being able to tell a story in a certain way that elicits because everyone is humorous in their own way.
Yeah.
But if you're not like, let me tell if you can't tell a joke, then don't tell a joke. Find a way to elicit that emotion a different way. And so I don't feel the pressure to entertain people whatsoever. What I do feel the pressure to do is to engage people,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
means
Yes.
you have to take them on a journey up and down, up and down. And so, like what you were saying, I will use humor. That is one of the areas where I am gifted as a communicator. I can get people normally to laugh.
Yeah.
And I like to do that because there's normally at least one thing in every sermon that's going to be difficult for people to hear. But if you had them laughing with you at one point, it will be easier. It's almost like Mary Poppins.
Yeah.
Just a teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go down, and that's what we're trying to do in the preaching. So if you remember the week that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, we were supposed to preach
David and Bathsheba.
David and Bathsheba, but it was
Yeah.
like a woman got stabbed on a train. There was a school shooting. Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. There was another school shooting just a couple of weeks before that. There's horrible atrocities happening all over the globe at every moment of every day.
Yeah.
And it was just like a moment in history where you're like, if you get up on this Sunday and preach How to Ruin Your Life from David and Bathsheba, you are the most tone-deaf person on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
And so I'm walking into, my crowd is coming in tense because they've been feeling from all these different things going on.
Yeah.
All the social media chatter, people are walking in tense. I know I'm speaking on a difficult topic, suffering. And honestly, I don't have a whole lot of great news about suffering because my message was expect it.
Yeah.
Right? So that's heavy. And even though we're going to end on this big triumphal ending of, we're going to read Romans 8, together, and it's going to be rah. Yeah. Listen, I knew on the front end, everyone's coming in and going, what's he going to say today? Because this has been a crazy week in our country. What is he about to say? He's on edge. So as I am prepping this sermon, I had a moment on Thursday night of that week with a little girl on my softball team. And it was amazing. The moment was so good. So I said, I've got to use this as an opener. Why? Because people are going to laugh. And when they laugh, it's going to let down their guard enough to let everything else that I have to say on this topic flood in.
Yeah.
And so that I don't feel the pressure to entertain. In fact, I don't really care if anyone's entertained. I do feel the pressure. And again, it's the way that you hold engagement is through hard work.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's repetition. It's writing in a way that you're watching the flow go. I'm sorry, I'm doing this on a table like you all listening to a podcast can see. But like making sure, all right, I'm peeking, and you're doing this. We talked about this in previous weeks. You're doing this with body language. You're doing this with your pace. You're doing this with the level of your tone. You're doing this with the content itself. There's going to be high moments. There's going to be low moments. There's going to be middle moments. And the whole thing is meant to literally take you on a journey. It can't all be high that exhausts people. It can't all be low that bores people. But when you take them on a journey, that's when it holds their engagement. So it's like, I'm going to tell you a funny story here. I'm going to hit you with something difficult to hear here, and then I'm going to bring it back with a story here, and then I'm going to hit you and it's going up and down and up and down. That is what you're trying to do. And again, for the average person, when someone's preaching, you will probably never notice any of this. And that's because that's how you know when it's actually good. So like if you're listening to this and you're going, I had no idea that the people that stand up and preach at my church are this involved in it.
Yeah.
We are. We are. I think that preaching is one of the most transformative things that the church does.
Yes.
I know that there are people that think, oh, the Sunday sermon's not that important because they can go and listen to Stephen Furtick on YouTube. And I still think that the preaching of any church is one of the keystone things that they do. And so we have to do it really, really, really well. And so you may not even
especially
notice
for
all
the
this
individuals
is
that
going on.
attend, because there's other different life instances that we're trying to walk with them and pastor them through. And if you can't listen to us on a Sunday morning, God, what makes you think you're going to listen to us whenever you call and say, hey, man, I got all this other stuff in life going on.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk through some things. Let's walk you through some things.
But I'm telling you, if you see somebody that's a good speaker, just know that there is a sacrifice happening behind the scenes that nobody, most likely not even the people that work with them, will be privy to the level of sacrifice that's going in. If you see someone that's just a mediocre speaker, you'll know that level of sacrifice is not nearly as great as what you saw whenever you saw a great speaker. If you see someone that's a bad speaker, again, there's no sacrifice happening. That you're printing off a sermon off the internet and going and reading it at that point. But like to hold someone's attention is a very difficult thing to do, and you have to work hard in content and delivery to be able to do that. So
Yeah.
if you feel pressure to entertain, just back to the original question, you should get off of the stage and never get back on there.
Yeah.
If entertainment has anything to do with your preaching, then you are missing the point.
Yeah, because I think when it's that then it becomes more about you and what they think about you, and less about God and the Holy Spirit and what He wants to do, and in that moment you don't have the right motive. So 100% agree.
Yeah. Well, awesome. I was gonna ask one more question, but we're like knocking on the time. We got time for one more.
Yeah, just do it.
All right. Has there been a sermon that you have listened to that has like changed, like kind of like done a rewiring for you? And like, what was the topic that for you, and you listen to it and you're like, oh, this, like, it opened up your eyes to something, and like your life has never been the same?
Go ahead.
Okay. It was while I was on sabbatical. I can tell you exactly where I was. I was at the YMCA on the exercise bike, and I was listening to a guy named Darius Daniels, who is in California, and it was his sermon. It was called "It Doesn't Fit," and it was about David and Goliath. And he talked about how you have to be confident in your calling and how God has gifted you. And just because you might have the ability to do something doesn't mean that it's always going to be what you're doing.
Yeah.
Your responsibilities may not always align with the other abilities you have, but to be faithful in those things. And it hit me in a time where I really needed that message. And so it has helped me in so many different ways in ministry and life, just in my confidence. I sat there boohooing on the exercise bike while listening to it like a weirdo, but
people are coming, are you okay? You're like, yes, my legs are burning.
Yeah, no, I think everybody was giving me a wide berth that day, but yeah, it definitely changed my life, and it made me also see some of the tasks and things that I do in a different light, because there's a lot of things that I do that's like not necessarily like the most enjoyable, I'm not like gifted in administration, but that's a lot of what I do. But then within all of that, God was able to show me how all those things connect to all these other things. And it has helped me really look at any task I do in a different light. And I can now approach it with joy and confidence regardless. So.
Yeah. Scott, you got one? Or do you need more time to think?
No, I saw this question when it came in a couple weeks ago, so I was ready for this, but I'll have a more robust answer now. So first and foremost, these three are going to be all over the place because I have three answers. The most like transformative, maybe not transformative, but a message that I'll never forget for as long as I live is called "A Spirit Hath Not Flesh and Blood" from Tim Keller. He preached it back in the 90s. It was his Easter sermon back in the 90s or early 2000s. And it was all about how, like, what is in store for us as believers, that we we are not going to miss out on anything in this life, which has always been one of my fears. What I would have said as a kid that rejected the church and Christianity growing up was, I always thought it was going to make me miss out on things. And this sermon, "A Spirit Hath Not Flesh and Blood," is all about how Jesus was a physical being when he rose from the dead, and how, like, when you receive your resurrection body, you're not going to miss out on anything. You're going to eat the best food. You're going to work. It's going to be a physical existence in the new heavens. And it just it opened my eyes to something that, first off, not enough people talk about the new heavens and the new earth. Everybody just wants to talk about heaven and the spiritual existence that happens between now and the coming of Jesus. And it was this thing where he was talking about, he's like, look at Jesus. Like, Thomas could touch his scars. He could eat the broiled fish on the beach. Like, he was physical. Even though he was glorified, he was physical. And it's called "A Spirit Hath Not Flesh and Blood." If you've never listened to it, you should go. You can find it. Tim has since passed on, but you can go listen to his sermons. Totally different type of sermon. Tim is dry. He's gonna all of his illustrations are gonna be intellectual because he was preaching in Brooklyn to a bunch of people that had master's degrees and doctorates.
Yeah.
So it's heady, it's not funny. His tone is monotonous. He's gonna reference plays and literature that you've never heard of in your life, and yet there is this like this, even someone that I don't run in his circles of knowledge.
Yeah.
And like, I have a master's degree, but I have a master's degree in Christian ministries, not in like physics.
Yeah.
So like, it was still accessible. He was brilliant. The other one I would say, this is more recent. I actually just had all of our interns listen to this. Charles Metcalf, who is the associate pastor at Transformation Community Church, preached a sermon 3 years ago called God Chose Me, that he actually just wrote a book about and is now going around preaching this everywhere.
Yeah.
If you struggle with doubt about the position God has you in life, that sermon lit me on fire.
Yeah.
Then I'll say the third sermon, I actually don't
What was that
remember.
guy's name?
Charles Metcalf.
The first one I can remember.
Yeah, you can find Charles, the sermon, and you can go buy the book if you want. I'm not getting any royalties for that. I don't know Charles, but the third one, I'll say, I don't even remember the sermon, what it was, but Jim Lyon, the first time I ever watched him preach at Pastors Fellowship over in Winchester.
That dude is so good.
When I watched him preach, and he got up there and he had the whole scripture, and this was I think he was in Matthew or Luke. It was definitely one of the Gospels, and he had the full text memorized. He stands up there and preaches for an hour. Not a note to be found, not even a Bible, not slides up on the screen. It's just in him and it's flowing out. And I sat there just mesmerized, like I had never seen anything like this in my life. I actually just felt the same way when I just saw Monte Dillard, our new interim director of the Church of God, preach at opening night of National Convention in Denver this past year. It was another, so for me, because I'm a preacher, I have a problem listening to other people preach.
Yeah.
Because I'm very critical of other people's preaching. So I have a hard time. Even people that other people are like, oh, they're a good preacher. I'm like, yeah, I'm not down with it normally. But like watching Jim and that one time and watching Monte this past convention, I literally, I think as he was preaching, you could have picked my jaw up off the floor.
Yeah.
Those were moments that marked me as a preacher, whereas the other two kind of marked me as a believer. But those two, watching Jim Lyons speak for an hour with nothing in front of him, and it's there. He had like a poetic cadence, and I walked away going, he sounds like Shakespeare and Jesus at the same time. It was just, it was the to this day it still is, and for me. Just think about this. Preaching is outside of my wife and kids, preaching is the love of my life.
Yeah.
So when I see something like that, it hits me almost like if you're an outdoors person and you go out and you see a sunset and you're like, or if you're an art person and you see a Van Gogh in person or the Mona Lisa, like you would be in awe. That's how I am. Whenever I experience great preaching, that's how I feel, like jaw on the floor, like I cannot believe what I'm sitting here watching. I suck. Like when you watch someone like Monte or Jim, you just go, yes, that's humbling. You think that you're something. You suck. Because in those sermons, man, I'll never forget them. I'll probably remember them more than my own sermons until I die.
Yeah. One of them for me is one of yours. We've talked about it in this series previously, was just because the first time that I ever preached, I did a topic on the Good Samaritan, and I approached it and, hey, we should go out and do kindness to everything. And then you kind of just, like you said, it's not a bad thing to talk about. Yes, we should go out and be kind to people, but we have to understand that if we're going to challenge people, we have to put them in the position of they are not the hero of the story. You have to understand that because of what has been done to us, then we can go out and do it. We have to put ourselves in the position of the dude in the ditch because we needed Jesus to come along and do it to us, to show us kindness and lift us up. So that's like one of those things that has like changed my life, especially in like the way that I've like approached just even reading in my personal time. I'm like, all right, God, show me that dude in the ditch in this story, and let me just like be reminded of like
And
who I am.
you can find it too, can't you?
100%. 100%.
Once you learn how to read the Bible like that,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
like, every one of those stories, you're like, oh, I'm the blind man, I'm the beggar, I'm the lame. Like, it's fun too to see it.
Yeah,
And transformative.
it is. It's one of those things that will always, always, always stick with me for the rest of my life. I mean, it changed the way that I read the Bible. Like, you know, it's just like one of those things whenever somebody says, hey, like you broke your leg. Well, the first time that somebody gives you like a set of crutches and you never even knew that that type of crutch existed, and then like you're getting along and you're like, holy cow, like this is life-changing. I don't have to hop around on one leg. Somebody invented something called a crutch. You know, like it's one of those things to where like it rewires everything in your brain. I was also at a leadership conference in Arizona whenever I was first trying to pursue ministry, and I listened to this guy. His name is Dale Bronner, and he did a teaching on leadership. So to give like a little bit of backstory on him, this guy is like a co-founder of the Bronner Brothers. Like it's hair care for African American, like skin care, like everything like that Black people would need for their personal care, like hair products, makeup, lotion, all of the 9 yards. So this, and it's like the number one seller of cosmetic and personal stuff. It makes so much money. Like the dude's a multi-millionaire. He has a church that he's the pastor of as well, and doesn't take a salary from the church, doesn't do all these things. And so he was giving this leadership topic on, like, you don't have to suck the resources dry from the organization to make an impact. And this church is huge too. He's like, look, if God has blessed you with something and you've got like an enormous amount of income and all this other thing, or maybe even these talents, like you don't have to charge, or you don't have to like ask, like if you go somewhere and you've already been blessed like financially, do you need to like take resources from maybe a smaller church? Because like the people that are at this conference are people that are pastors of churches of like 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 7,500. He's like, and then you're going like these churches that are going, you know, that maybe have 500 people. He's like, do you really need to take a couple $100 from them? It put things in perspective of, if you've got the gift and God has blessed you, don't try to put a flat tire in the ministry of one ministry to try to take to inflate the tire of your own ministry.
That's good.
And so it put things in perspective. He's like, if you create something, give it away. If you're doing something for the kingdom and God has blessed you, like you don't need to bankrupt something else just to benefit from it. So I don't even make a lot of money, and I was like,
I'm over here smiling because I feel like it is just you for a financial or generous type talk to mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
Well, knowing what I know about you, I think that is just
it's one of those things, and I'll be very open and honest. Like I wish that I could give more financially, but there's things in life that are taking from it because we're trying to give an opportunity for kids to have a better life. Like one of the things that we are praying about is because like with all of the government shutdown and everything like that, we haven't seen any of that money coming in at all. And so we know that we're knocking on the door for like winter clothes because these kids showed up in like a backpack and like a pair of socks, 2 pairs of shorts. And all that to say is like, I want to be able to do more. And maybe I should charge people for, hey, because I had some people the other day reach out to me and they're like, dude, I really like that sermon series. I said, here's the Photoshop file. You can have it. Or maybe it was the ugly sweater thing that we did like a year ago, like just the logo. I said, here, just have it. I was like, you have Photoshop, just use it, whatever, take it.
Yeah.
I don't care, because it's not that big of a deal.
No.
I don't care. I just, well, yeah.
That last question felt like a mystery meat.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Though.
It didn't
did.
come from the jar.
Well,
We'll make it
shucks.
quick.
Well, shucks.
Maybe not a one-word answer, but a two-word answer.
So you guys made me go and buy cereal.
Oh yes, this is for you, dude.
Last week.
You
Just
bought
saying.
what?
I bought cereal.
We
had
did talk about
Anthony.
cereal last week.
Anthony went to the store and I said, "Can you pick up some cereal?" Because I literally
What did you
had
get?
just
Did you get old
finished
people cereal?
honeycomb. This is
Okay,
one of my
no,
go-tos.
that was one of the
So,
good ones we talked
anyway,
about.
Yeah.
I love honeycomb.
This is all you, dude. What's your favorite dad joke or pun that you secretly love?
I don't have a favorite. I just have so many.
Yeah.
I love a good dad joke.
I like hearing them. I'm not.
Yeah. So I'll just do whatever came to my head. So one of my favorites is, have you heard about the? Hold on, I'm running slow right now. All right. Did you know that it's illegal to laugh really loud in Hawaii? They only allow aloha.
Oh man.
Yeah. And then what is it? Have you heard about the
Sorry.
program?
I got one. I don't know if it's appropriate for this, but
What's
it's funny.
Have you heard about the program that's trying to make people aware of the benefits of dried grapes? Just raising awareness.
Oh Lord. Why didn't the toilet paper across the road?
That's not going to crack.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Did you know Paul was a baker?
Paul was a baker.
He went to Philippi.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And the writer, what is it? The writer of Hebrews drinks coffee. It's
Yeah.
Hebrews.
It's one about Adam and Eve and Yahtzee.
Yeah, why they lost the, why Adam and Eve had to stop playing Yahtzee because they lost their paradise. My all-time favorite corny
So
joke, though, is there's a man walking down the street with a corn dog stuck in his ear. And another guy walked by him. He goes, "Hey, man, you got a corn dog stuck in your ear?" He said, "Huh? I can't hear you. I got a corn dog stuck in my ear."
I didn't like that one as much.
And then,
So-
all right, just real quick. There was two
Yes.
muffins. There was two muffins in an oven. One muffin looked to the other one and said, "Man, it's hot in here." The other muffin goes, "Ah, a talking muffin."
Have you
Yeah.
seen the reels with the guys that are out like hunting, and they tell the
Oh,
jokes?
yeah,
and they're
yes,
kind of-
yes.
Yeah, I got.
I like. Have you heard about? There's a new pillow coming out. It's a corduroy pillow. Have you heard about that? It's making headlines.
Hey. Don't do this in a sermon, guys.
Yeah, I can keep going.
No, but this time to let everybody know that we appreciate them for listening.
I keep going. If you want more dad jokes, just holler at
Yeah.
me. I'm no longer on social media, so don't holler at me there.
Yeah.
And
I can imagine your email's about to really blow up, Scott.
yeah, everybody wants more dad jokes. Just ask me in the lobby of the church. I will give you a dad joke anytime that you see me.
No, what we should do is go to src.life and sign up for your weekly dad joke.
That would be fun.
That would be fun.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, but the problem would be people would be like, I don't know what's going on, but I heard Scott's, I heard about a toilet paper getting stuck in a crack.
Yeah, well, yeah, I got more for you. Don't worry.
Yeah.
That was the best potluck or the best mystery meat we've ever had.
I don't know about that.
As far as
I think the
Probably
one I
pretty-
got
that
the
was
most
pretty good one.
passionate about was his cereal soup because I wanted to fight, and I think it was you.
Yes, Yes, it was me.
I was
don't
You
know
were
if it's-
so mad at me.
I was ready to throw down.
I don't know if it's soup, but it's amazing.
It
I'll
is.
get back on a cereal kick right now if we don't shut this thing down.
Right. No, I am. I'm getting up and I'm walking to that computer and hitting stop record.
All right. Thanks for checking us out.
Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well. All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.